Hi everyone, welcome back to Uke Theory with Matt Stead. Hopefully you're watching this video having watched the last one on 12 bar blues. What I'd like to do is carry on with our 12 bar blues progression and start to add in the 2-5-1 progression. Now musicians were always interested in adding more harmonic and melodic interest to pieces of music. And one of the ways that you can add some movement when using a dominant 7th chord is to play the minor 7th that is a 5th above it. I'll give you an example. If we go back to our circle of 5ths, which is just 5ths written out going around clockwise. So G is 5 above C. C, D, E, F, G. D is 5 above G. G, A, B, C, D, and so forth, all the way around. And if you use the chord a minor 7th that's a 5th above the dominant, you get the 2-5-1 progression. D minor 7, 2, G7, 5, C being the 1. Okay, so we land on 1. So in the key of C, remember C's 1, D's 2, E, F, G is 5. C, D, G, 2-5-1. Okay, but we're playing 2-5-1, not 1-2-5. So D minor 7, G7, C. And that creates this kind of beautiful, one of the most commonly used chord progressions in jazz music. So rather than playing just the dominant 7th here, just the G7 on its own, what musicians started doing is adding the D minor 7, which would come before it in a 2-5-1 progression, before it here. So this means that we have a little bit less room, because it's 1 bar, so we can only play 2 beats of D minor 7 and 2 beats of G7. Okay, it's changed the end of our progression now. Let's give this a go. So let's play it from the top with this D minor 7 and G7 on the end. Okay, if you're not sure, chords are on the right hand side if you're not sure, but again, you can always look them up in a chord dictionary, or just pause the video, make sure you know them and come back. So 1, right from the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, C7. Here's our quick change, F7 to the diminished, back to C7. F7 again, here's our diminished, back to C7, G7, F7, C7, D minor 7, G7. So again, did you hear that lovely movement on the end? Let's just, if I play it quickly from here, just so you can hear it. Here it comes. It's a lovely little progression. So we've added a 2-5. Here's the 1. You might think it never gets to the 1, but if we go back to the start, there's your 1. 2-5-1, 2-5-1. Now, another thing that musicians discovered was if we put the 6th chord in the key of C. Now, if we think of the 6th chord, C, D, E, F, G, it's going to be a form of A, right? C, D, E, F, G, A. But remember, in this piece, we're trying to play everything as a dominant 7. So rather than using an A or an A minor 7, as you might expect, let's put the A7 in. And we're going to put this 6th chord right in front of the 2-5-1 progression. Okay? So even before, I'm going to do it here before we even put it into our piece. We'd have A7, D minor 7, G7, and then a C or a C7. Now the reason that works beautifully, that 6th chord, is that the A is 5 above the D. And whenever you get a chord that is 5 above, remember this is your fifths going around in this direction, so it's a fifth above a D. Whenever you get a chord that's a fifth above another one, it wants to resolve backwards to that one. So we have an A wanting to go to a D wanting to go to a G, and a G wanting to go to a C. So it creates that insatiable movement of wanting to go back towards the tonic, which is really, really lovely. Let's try it very slowly, just down here, this section, just playing a slow 2 beats on each one so you can get used to it. 2, 3, 4, A7, D minor 7, G7, and let's play a C7. So you get that lovely feel of movement. Now, again, we're running out of space here because we've got to put this into 1 bar. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the C7 backwards and we're going to add in an A7 here. Okay. 1, 6, 2, 5, one of the most common chord progressions in jazz. And do you remember in the first video how I said this led into kind of contemporary music? Well, that 1, 6, 2, 5 progression kind of led into a 1, 4, 5, 6 progression, which is one of the most common progressions in modern music, all that Ed Sheeran stuff. All that kind of, all those progressions were born out of this form of music. So it's really important to get used to playing. Let's see if we can play this whole progression now with our lovely 1, 6, 2, 5 progression at the end. And remember, if you're a saxophonist or a trumpet player, you've got loads of possibilities now. Rather than just playing C and G, you can play scales from C, A, D and G. It's much more interesting. And for our ears, it's a real treat. Let's give it a go from the top, really nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, C7. Quick change, F7 to the diminished. Back to C7. And we have our F7 to the diminished. C7. G7, F7, here's our nice progression, C7, A7, D minor 7, G7. Isn't that lovely? Suddenly we've got jazz blues. Count Basie used this progression all the time. It's a really, really popular one. Duke Ellington as well. Lots of band leaders. Not quite done yet. Let's put a couple. More things in to make it more interesting. Now, what jazz blues players realised was that this kind of progression, the 1, 6, 2, 5 progression in microcosm, can be played out along these 4 chords, but instead of each one just having 2 beats, we can give them each one a whole bar. So what we can do is we can turn this chord into an A7 to give you 1, 6. That's a whole bar of A7. Now we need to shift this along because we need a D minor 7 and a G7. So what we do is this F7 disappears altogether and this G7 moves along. And now, because there's no lines here, like there is here, this is a bar, this is a bar, know that this is a whole bar, a whole bar, a whole bar, a whole bar, half a bar, half a bar, half a bar, half a bar. All right, so these ones are kind of enclosed as a bar. Now we have 1, 6, 2, 5 twice at the end of the piece. We have it elongated, C7, A7, D minor 7, G7, and then we play it all out again, but twice as quick. When I I say twice as quick, obviously not twice as quick in tempo, but the changes happen more quickly. Okay, so now we've got that lovely 1-6-2-5 in place twice. Should we give it a go? Let's do it. Really nice and slow. I know there's a lot going on here. If you're not sure of these chords, they can take quite a lot of time to get used to. But just for now, just go really, really slowly. And if you're not sure, you can always go back and look them up. So let's go right from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, C7, F7 to the diminished, back to C7. F7 to the diminished, C7 to that A7, D minor 7, G7, same thing again, 2 beats each, C7, A7, D minor 7, G7, and lovely, back to that C7 to finish off. Absolutely brilliant. Isn't that lovely? It adds such a sense of drama and dynamic and movement, because this chord wants to go to this one, which wants to resolve to this one, which wants to resolve to this one, and so on. You get this lovely cycle of fifths. A couple more things we can do to it. Remember I said that to resolve to a dominant 7, it's really nice to play the minor 7, which is a fifth above it. I know it's, oh my goodness, there's all these numbers, isn't there, going on now? But all I mean is, whenever you've got, say, a G7, it's really nice to play a D minor 7 in front of it. It just sounds lovely, because that D minor 7 wants to resolve into that G7, and it's the 2-5 of a 2-5-1 progression. Now what we can do is we can put a few more of these minor 7th chords in. We call it playing the 5 of the 1, in effect, playing the chord that's a fifth above another. So this C7 here, to make it more interesting, what's a fifth above a C7? It would be a G, wouldn't it? We can see on our diagram, and we can count that out. C, D, E, F, G. So if we play a G minor 7 in front of this C, it's almost like the 2-5 of a 2-5-1 progression in F. 2-5-1. Okay, 2-5-1. And if you look what the next chord is after that C, it's an F. So we end up with a 2-5-1 progression sandwiched up here. Isn't that cool? I think it's amazing. So what we're going to do now is this bar up here. Gosh, I told you it starts to look a bit more complicated, didn't I? It's starting to look very busy now. This bar here, we're going to play a G minor 7 and I forgot what I was doing now. A G minor 7 and a C7. 2, 5, 1. Okay? It's a bit hard to read now, isn't it? But just know it's a G minor 7, C7, F7. So G minor 7 is this one here, from nose to toes, 0, 2, 1, 1. So we're going to hit that for 2 beats. C7. And then we're going to go to this F7. Okay. So it's going to add a real sense of drama into the first line. If I play it first so you can hear it. That kind of sense of drama it created, just putting that minor 7th in front of it, and that lovely sense of movement, that lovely sense of movement again. And it is just literally just the 5 of the 1, the minor 7 that's 5 above that 1. Let's try playing it with that in. Nice and slow. We've got a lot going on here. I might even slow tempo down really slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, C7, F7, F sharp diminished, C7. Now here's that G minor 7, C7, F7, F sharp diminished, C7. Here's more 2-5-1s, A7, D minor 7, G7, got these little mini 2-5-1s happening. There's one here, there's one here, there's one here. All these, so we've got a 1-4-5 progression, which is kind of like being infiltrated with all these 2-5-1s. Going to do one last one to finish off. Now this is quite a tough one to stick in quickly. What we can do is that we have another dominant 7 here, this A7, and we can play in front of it an E minor 7. Now if you count up from A, B, C, D, E is the 5th above A. So an E minor 7 wants to go to an A. Now let's have a look. Here's our circle of fifths. Look, an E minor 7 or an E is a 5th above the A. And look what else we've got, which is super cool. 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1. We've got another 2, 5, 1 progression. Now an E minor 7 is played 0, 2, 0, 2. Going to the A7. If you want to be super duper fancy, another option we've got here on the right is playing an E minor 7 like a D minor 7, but moved up 2. And if you remember my video on the chromatic scale, if you move up 2 from D, you get E. So we could play an E minor 7 there, and we could play an A7 here, which is just a G7 moved up. But that might be a step too far at the moment. If you're not sure, just play 0, 2, 0, 2, and then an A7 there, which is lovely. All right, let's try putting that all together. Our last part, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, C7, F7, diminished, C7, G minor 7, C7, F7, F sharp diminished, C7, E minor 7, A7, D minor 7, G7, C7, A7, D minor 7, G7, and finish. Lovely. Now, what I'd like to do is I'll just play through the original progression 12 bar blues for you. Now with the 2 5-1s. Awful playing, I'm so sorry, but you get the idea, right? So much more harmonic movement. Have lots of fun with that. You might notice I changed some chord to ninths over here, but I think we'll deal with that in another video because I realise we've run to 19 minutes already. So have fun with that. Take it slow. Remember, you can always pause the video and rewind and give it a go. Thank you very much.